The crowd was standing up, clapping and cheering, while the band played loud, happy music. The music was bright and proud, with trumpets and trombones making the air feel full of energy. I was wearing my graduation gown, moving forward with everyone else in neat rows. The robes were mostly blue, and a few had maize-colored patterns. They swayed like waves in the ocean as we shuffled along. The hats on everyone's heads, called mortarboards, sparkled in the sunlight. It was one of those moments where everything seemed big, shiny, and important. Somewhere high up in the stands, I knew my parents were sitting. Or maybe they were just there because they had to be. I didn't feel much warmth from them that day. I remembered what my friend Cashin had said back in sophomore year. One day he'll eat his words. I laughed when she said it. At the time, it had seemed silly, like a joke. But now the words came back into my mind, uninvited, creeping in at a moment when I had to stand tall in front of everyone. My fingers brushed against a folded piece of paper buried deep in my tote bag. It was from my dad. He had written in his blunt handwriting, "Callista, be realistic." I didn't keep it to make me lucky. I kept it to remind me of how he used to doubt me. It was like a little stone in my bag that weighed on my hand every time I touched it, reminding me of the past. The music from the band got louder again. The brass instruments hit another triumphant, happy sound that made my chest feel full of energy. Dr. Alicia Montclair, a kind but serious woman, started speaking. Her voice came through the stadium speakers and bounced off the concrete walls, mixing with the rustle of the graduation programs in everyone's hands. I tried hard to focus on her words, but my eyes kept wandering. I scanned the stands until I finally found my parents. My dad's jaw was tight. His arms were crossed like he was doing something he didn't want to do. He didn't look happy or proud. My mom sat beside him, hands folded neatly in her lap. She didn't meet my eyes. Instead, she looked everywhere except at me. I thought back to 5 years ago, to a different day in our garage. I had brought my very first project, a rough panel made from recycled materials, to my dad's workshop. It still smelled of resin, a strong, sticky smell that made me think of hope and new ideas. I was so proud and excited to show it to him. But he barely looked at it. "I'm not storing scrap metal dreams in here," he said with a small wave of his hand, pushing me aside. I swallowed the hurt and told myself I would prove him wrong. I promised myself that I would show him I could do big things, even if he didn't believe in me yet. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, and I pulled it from my gown pocket, hiding it from the bright sunlight. It was a text from Corwin Gray. It was short, quick, and cold. "After today, don't expect any help from us. You're on your own." My jaw tightened and my teeth ached. The sunlight felt harsh, almost brittle, like it was poking me. The cheering around me turned into a blur. The words felt heavy, sinking into my chest. Cashin, who was sitting next to me, noticed the change in my posture. She leaned in and asked softly, "What is it?" I whispered, "Nothing," and slid the phone back into my pocket. She wasn't fooled. With one quick move, she reached over, tugged the phone from my hand, and read the screen. Her nostrils flared as she scanned it. "Today? Really? What a move," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. I looked at the stage again, trying to keep my focus. I watched the blur of academic robes, the banners of the university waving in the spring breeze, and the crowd of people around me. My fingers found the folded note from my dad again. I held it and felt the soft, worn edges, remembering the day it landed silently on my desk. Cashin whispered in my ear, "One day he'll regret that text." I took a slow breath, feeling a little smile form on my lips. It wasn't a full smile, but it was there. Maybe that day is closer than he thinks, I thought to myself. The applause swelled as some special honorary degrees were announced. I wasn't really paying attention. My mind was replaying every time my dad dismissed me, every time he didn't give a nod of approval, every conversation that began with "be realistic" and ended with "we won't back you." Then my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't my dad. It was Kaylin Thorne, the chief operating officer of our company. She never called me during a ceremony unless something important was happening, something that could change everything. My stomach tightened. I pulled the phone to my ear, trying to stay hidden from anyone on the stage. "Tell me you're not busy," Kaylin said, her voice all business but with a hint of excitement. I whispered back, "Define busy," keeping my eyes on the line of graduates walking forward in their gowns. "Series C closed this morning," she said quickly. "Horizon Global gave us $120 million. We're now valued at $950 million. I froze for a moment. $950 million. I could hardly believe it. My pulse thumped so loudly it felt like it could be heard by the whole stadium. The cheering around me blurred into white noise. Cashin caught the look on my face. She opened her mouth like she was going to say something, then stopped. Instead, she gave a small, quiet grin, almost like she couldn't believe it either. Kaylin continued. Adrian Kwan wants a word today if possible. I was about to answer when movement at the edge of my vision caught my attention. My dad was walking down the aisle, my mom beside him. He stopped every few steps to shake hands with people and nod. He didn't look at me, but I could hear him speak to a man I didn't know. His words were warm enough to sound friendly, but I knew the tone was just right so I could hear it. Still chasing pipe dreams, he said to the man. The words landed like they always did. Not a direct punch, but a steady grind meant to wear me down. I felt Cashin stiffen beside me. She lifted her chin in reflexive defense, like she wanted to protect me. My fingers closed around the folded scrap of paper in my bag again. The words "be realistic" pressed against my palm. The edges were soft, worn from being folded so many times, but the weight of it never changed. I spoke calmly into the phone. Tell Adrian I'll call after the ceremony. That's what I like to hear, Kaylin said, her voice brisk again. Enjoy your day, Callista. You've earned it. Then the line clicked off. Cashin leaned close, her voice low and fierce. This is your moment. He just doesn't know it yet. I looked forward again, keeping my face calm. Inside, threads of adrenaline and restraint twisted so tightly that it almost felt hard to breathe. The stadium smelled faintly of sunscreen and freshly cut grass. Somewhere in the upper seats, a vuvuzela blew, a loud, funny horn that sounded silly among all the serious music. My phone buzzed again, stronger this time. It was a call from someone I had only seen in press releases and high-level emails. Adrian Kwan was calling me. I could feel it without looking. My dad had closed the gap to within 2 rows of me. I took the call, keeping my name echoing from the loudspeakers still ringing in the stadium. I pressed the phone tight to my ear, shutting out everything else. Congratulations, Callista, Adrian said, each word sharp and clear. You're everywhere, Bloomberg, TechCrunch, Forbes. Embargo lifted 2 minutes ago. I glanced up at the scoreboard screens above the stands. The sun was bright against them, but I could imagine my name scrolling across the screens, big and bold. A thin, happy feeling worked its way through my chest. Adrian's voice became businesslike again. Horizon's committed to a 10-year partnership. Capital expenditure for 2 plants starts immediately. A 3rd facility is contingent on EPA fast-track approvals. Signals are already positive. 2 plants, 10 years. I let those numbers hang in the air, feeling the weight of them. Cashin, sitting 2 seats down, tilted her head to catch my eye. Her expression asked a question I didn't answer. Adrian continued, I'd like you at next week's press conference, and I need you in Detroit this afternoon for a site visit. Detroit. My grip on the phone tightened. I could see the edge of the symbolic note in my bag, folded over itself so many times it felt like a small stone. A flashback played in my head, uninvited. 2 years ago, at our dining table, my dad had coffee in hand, shaking his head. Horizons are predators, he had said. We don't invite them to pick apart our books. That meeting had been exploratory, just an idea to retrofit his asphalt line, but he had stopped it in 1 sentence. I had sat there, watching a chance evaporate like mist in the sun. Adrian's voice pulled me back to the present. They reassessed that legacy project last quarter. Redirected the budget to EcoForge's composites program. The words sank under my skin, leaving a quiet, steady heat. I glanced 2 rows up. My dad's profile was etched against the bleachers. He paused, half-turned, as if some part of him had caught the meaning of Adrian's words. Cashin's eyebrows went up silently. She didn't say anything, but she didn't have to. He heard that. He heard that. I made a choice right away, just like I had planned it in my head, like a rule forming perfectly on its own. One more mean comment from him, and I would make this phone call loud for everyone around to hear. No anger, no acting, just honest, simple truth. Adrian didn't stop talking. I added one more thing. Our Detroit project used 38% recycled material instead of all new stuff. That change saved the city 21% of the money they would have spent. That was the same city my dad once tried to help a long time ago. His voice got softer. It's working. The records will show it today, he said. I stayed very still. I listened to the numbers, remembering them like points on a map. There was something very right about this moment. It felt better than winning a business game. Lower costs for a city that really needed help. Materials that wouldn't hurt the land. Jobs moving from old ways to new, cleaner ways. People would be happy, and nature would be safe too. The school band played louder again as more names were announced on the loudspeaker. My dad's shadow fell across the row in front of me. I didn't look at him yet. I waited. Then he leaned over the seat behind me. His voice was soft but loud enough for everyone to hear. "End the fantasy, Callista," he said. My thumb hovered over the speaker button on my phone. If people want to see what happens when the truth is shared openly, I thought they should watch. I didn't raise my voice. I just made the sound louder. The crowd cheered in waves. The brass music swelled, then quieted. I pressed the speaker button. A little chime rang. Cashin's hand froze on the armrest. My dad's shoulders went up a little. "Adrian," I said calmly, "can I put you on speaker so our family can hear?" "Of course," he said calmly. He looked ready. He wasn't acting. He was just telling the truth, simple and clear. "EcoForge Solutions finished a big funding round this morning," he said. $120 million from Horizon Global. Our company is now worth $950 million. 3 states have signed letters to work with us. EPA pilot approvals are already ready. We expect 1,500 new jobs across 2 factories. The air around us felt alive, like grass moving in the wind. People tilted their heads, pulled out phones. Even the school leader stopped walking to listen. I could feel my back muscles relax, not with pride, but with relief. The truth was out there. Adrian kept talking slowly and clearly. Our studies show 72% less pollution compared to using all new materials. Cities saved 21% on repaving. These are real numbers, not just words. Real changes, real good results. People's eyes followed the numbers. They whispered to each other quietly. Cashin didn't look at me. She watched my dad. "EcoForge isn't just a business," Adrian said clearly. "It's a way for communities to grow and be healthy without hurting the planet. People can live better, nature is safe, and cities can save money too." I stayed quiet, letting the moment sink in. Then I added one line of my own. "This is what you called impossible dreams." I touched the folded note in my hand. Across the aisle, a little boy clapped because everyone else did. The sweet little moment made everything calm and normal. Adrian kept talking, gentle and clear. "For the record," he said, "Horizon paused an old asphalt plan because our Detroit project worked so well. Public record Zen 1342. No fancy words, just results." People whispered as the news spread. A camera clicked. I saw the exact moment my dad realized he was wrong. His face changed color like he didn't know what to say. Applause started slowly, then grew louder and stronger. The school leader gave me a small nod, like a teacher saying, "Well done." I didn't smile. I just breathed. All morning I had felt bad because people misunderstood me. Now the numbers made everything clear. No bragging, no showing off, just calm and steady. The truth was solid. The band played a softer song. Sunlight spilled over the students' caps. I thought about the workers who would start at the new factories, the people buying materials that were cheaper and safer, streets that would last longer. Small changes adding up could make a huge difference for a lot of people. Cashin finally looked at me just to check. I nodded once. She looked back at my dad. He didn't move, like touching anything might break the moment. My mom's hand found his wrist. Her thumb moved slowly, comforting him. "Adrian," I said softly, "thank you." "My congratulations, Callista," he said. "We'll see you soon." The phone call stayed open, with the crowd noise in the background. I didn't feel it. I didn't say sorry. Cameras kept watching. I had made my point clear. "Corwin, we need to talk now," I said. I ended the call, put the folded note back in my hand, and stood up. 3 people walked with me quietly. The air under the tree was cooler and calm. The crowd's noise was far away now. The leaves whispered above us. I held the folded note tight. Corwin didn't avoid the truth. "I was wrong," he said, voice quiet and shaky. "Wrong about what?" I asked. "About you. About your work. I doubted you. I told people you were wasting your life. I thought I was protecting you from disappointment. I just made it worse." I felt the old sting rise but stayed calm. "Your Detroit project did better than your plan. It also saved a paving company from letting workers go. The same company you worked with. They never knew I was your daughter." Celine's eyes opened wide. "You saved his company?" she asked. "Not for him," I said, shaking my head. "For the workers, for their families who need those jobs." Corwin's shoulders relaxed like a heavy weight lifted. "I'm ashamed," he said, "and proud. Both at once. I don't know how it works, but it is true." I handed him the note. His hands looked older in the green light as he opened it. The ink was still sharp. "Be realistic," it said. He looked at it for a long time, then folded it back and gave it to me. "Keep it," he said quietly. "It's part of your story now." I put it in my bag. It didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt important, like a marker in my life. "I never needed saving," I said calmly. "But somehow I ended up saving you." He didn't argue. His mouth tightened in a small smile. Celine's hand rested on his arm, keeping him steady. My phone buzzed. An email from the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. They invited me to join the National Sustainable Infrastructure Advisory Council. Another buzz. Cashin's text. "The game isn't over yet." The leaves above moved again, letting sunlight scatter on us like broken patterns. The day was moving on to the next chapter. I looked around. The air smelled fresh. The shadows of leaves danced on the grass. The small wins we made today, the changes, the jobs saved, the families helped, it all felt real. I tucked the note safely in my bag. It was no longer heavy, no longer a burden. It was a part of me now, a piece of truth that could never be taken away. And in that quiet under the tree, I understood something very important. Being honest and doing what is right doesn't always feel easy, but it makes a difference. The wind moved the branches above, scattering sunlight like tiny stars over us. My dad looked thoughtful. My mom smiled softly. Cashin nodded, ready for the next move. The world seemed bigger, but calmer too, like a gentle promise that small changes could make life better for a lot of people. And for the first time in a long while, I felt proud, not because I showed anyone, not because people applauded, but because I had stayed steady, told the truth, and helped others without even needing anyone to notice. The day was moving forward, and so were we.